One of the most important things that you can do is build a solid financial foundation. And it's a very simple thing to be able to put it into practice, but it's something you have to learn how to do. So go ahead and listen to the following, and you're going to find out everything it is it's going to take for you to build a solid, great, solid financial foundation.
Guys, I've been sitting, getting some talk from y'all, and one of the things that people need to learn and have some questions about, and always want to know more about, is building a very good, strong financial foundation. And it's something that you need to start with. The sooner the better, as with anything, because time is the most valuable asset you have. So after this video, you will know how to build a strong financial foundation. And I'm going to start with looking over here. So really, building a strong financial foundation is like building a house or a strong building. If you ever go down to New York or one of the major cities, they'll put a big fence up around a vacant lot, and they'll be building, let's say they want to build a 50-story building. They will spend more time digging down deep, pouring concrete, building a deep foundation. If you ever get a chance to look through the fence, you'll see that it goes down 50, 60, 70 feet. I don't know. It's a long way. You wouldn't want to fall down the hole. You'll probably get killed. And they spend a long time on that foundation. And once that foundation gets built, the building seems to go up very, very quickly. And this is the same it is with building your own financial future, is that it may seem laborious and slow, but building a strong financial foundation will give you years of the future of the things to financial freedom. So I'm going to start off. So let's just go ahead and put up here financial foundation. Okay, as I said, it's like a building out in New York. Pick it, New York, Dallas, Los Angeles, anywhere. It doesn't matter where you build it. In fact, you can build your house, even if they build your houses on crummy land, they have to spend more time building a deep foundation. So you want to build your house on bedrock. So first of all, let's take a look at the different types of things. It's sort of like the first thing you need to do is build for protection. That means insurance, taking care of your family. If something should happen to you, you're protected if the worst in life can happen. Things such as dying before you can, having bills that are unpaid, you need to have some sort of protection to take care of that in case of your untimely demise. In fact, the worst thing that can happen to somebody is not that they die, is that they become incapable of working and they live out their lives in total poverty. So that would put different types of insurance. So if you want to build good protection, you can have annuities, you can have life insurance, you can have term life insurance, whole life insurance. Just build up money in savings. And you got to figure out all those buckets that you want to put your money into. And part of it is having a good financial awareness of the different financial instruments that are out there. The next one that we want to take a look at is debt management. Debt management. The issue that most people have is they shouldn't be in debt, but when they get out of college, or even now they're going to college, they end up with a high level of debt, college debt, car debt, mortgages. When you first start out, you have nothing, and most people go into debt to put them into a lifestyle and to take care of their family. Whether this is right or wrong is up to you, and most issues with debt is that it puts you behind the 8 ball as far as building building your financial future, because as long as you're paying somebody else and paying off debt, you're broke. If you want to take a look at what your value is, usually take all your assets, and let's say you're worth $1 million, have cash in the bank of assets, and you have $1.1 million in debt. That means you have a negative value of $100,000. So it really doesn't matter how much money you have. If you owe money to people all over town, then you have a problem. The next thing you want to have is an emergency fund. So as you'll see, this is growing up like a pyramid. An emergency fund. That emergency fund, typically they say, is 3 to 6 months of your monthly income in case it takes to find a new job. The wealthier you are, the longer it may take you to find another job or another career in some cases. And so we recommend 3 to 6 to 9 months. If you're a highly paid executive in a corporation, it could take you a year or 2 years to even find a job. So you have to be prepared for that when you get out into the workforce. And so what you want to have for that is an emergency fund. Most people only have about $400 in the bank, but they have a trip to the emergency room with one of their kids, which costs about $400, and you don't have $400, guess what? You're dipping into your credit cards and you're going further into debt. And that's pretty bad when you don't have enough money to make a trip to the emergency room. So you want to build up an emergency fund. And then finally, investments. Right? Investments. And investments is stocks, bonds, anything that you put your money into as an investment. Could be real estate. You name it, anything. Usually an investment involves risk. So if you buy something and you invest your money, you put them in stocks, you're hoping the stocks will go up. Right now, with the way the market has been in the last since 2010 or 2010, the market has been on a tear in the upward. It's been the longest stock market in the history of in the history of the world, history of the United States. So when is that market going to turn? Well, all things that go up must come down eventually. And so some people will lose. And usually it's when you're putting your money into there and everybody, Uncle Bob calls you and says, hey, I've got this great stock to put the money into, then maybe that's the time you want to consider getting out. I remember after the crash in the markets with homes, you talk to anybody after 2010 or 2008, after the crash, that there are people like, I will never, ever, ever buy another home again. I will never, ever, ever buy a real estate again, because people lost their shirts in the real estate market. At that time was the best time to start buying because you were picking up stuff for almost nothing. And that's one of the things that I ended up doing. I got into the real estate industry as an investing and built up quite a large portfolio. When everybody and their uncle, and I remember when Warren Buffett came out and he said, if I could figure out a way to manage real estate, I would be buying every single family home that I could lay my hands on. That is the day that I recall that the market changed. Everybody and their uncle have signs out on the corner of the street. We will pay cash for homes. And that's when the homes started driving up. I'm trying to think, for instance, my first house that I bought was a foreclosure house. It had been valued as high as $180,000. I purchased it for about $87,000, put about $40,000 into it. So I was into it for about $130,000. And that was a house that we lived in for a while. Probably to fix it up as a rental house, I probably could have only put in maybe $20,000. So let's say, for instance, that house at 87 plus 20 into it for about $110,000. And today that house, well, when that house was finished, it valued at about 140, and today it's worth about $230,000. People are going crazy and pouring their money into it. So when was the speculation? So what happens is when people start to get into markets, the dumb money follows good money. And that's when people start to speculate and look at things. And so Do people really understand those markets, the stock market? Do you read up on your stocks, or you're just hearing something good that somebody told you that you should put your money into? So these are all things you got to take a look at. Most people, what they do when they get into this pyramid that they're building, they start off going into major debt and they go into putting their money into investments. If you do really well in your investments, then a lot of times something may happen to them and they'll go and they'll put their money into protection because they don't want that to happen to them ever. They usually see people have a story. Either they're the ones that fall victim or somebody else becomes a victim of poor finances, and they learn that that's not going to happen to them. Then the next thing is debt management. Now we can get into things on the other side of the story. There is good debt and there's bad debt. If you have bad debt, that's what you need to get out of and put away. Good debt is something that somebody may pay off. But you know, good debt could turn into potentially bad debt. You got to be very, very careful. So in the real estate industry, there's a lot of people right now that are putting their money and going into massive debt to buy houses. And if we have a hiccup in the economy, and like we've had right now with the CARES Act, you can't evict somebody in certain cases. And if that person's not paying their mortgage, they're not paying their rent, then you can't pay their mortgage, and you could potentially lose one house and then go down like a slate of dominoes. The people who have built up a good protection and have cash involved and backed up, they could probably weather the storm. So what you got to do is you got to figure out, how can I put myself out there as well as I can and be able to weather any storm that comes up. So these are the things that you have to look at when you're putting together a financial, putting together your financial house. So anyway, let me just go back and say what we want to do is we want to build a good, solid financial foundation, and we want to first start building a pyramid, with the largest being in the foundation being protection, debt management, emergency funds, and finally investments. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start to look into that. I'll follow up with some more things. You guys have a great day.